Hey everybody, Mike Banner here for this week's episode of 62 Who Knew. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving with your family. Before we get going with today's show, a little bit of a different topic. Very excited about today's show because it is a different topic, but boy, does it fit in with our viewership. But before we start and before I introduce our fantastic guest, I do want to thank everybody. I don't do that enough. We started in February of this year, the 62 Who Knew podcast. In February, I think we had 160 some odd views. Didn't we, Anthony? 160, 180, something like that.
Yeah.
And last month we had 21,000 views. And that's to the thank you to all of you that are coming on and liking and subscribing. And of course, my incredible guests. I'm just here to herd people through. So just thank you to all of you. So many of you have gone to our new website, which is www.62whoknew. You have clicked on the long-term care link or the annuity or the life insurance or whatever. You've gotten your free information, your guides, and we're already helping many people across the country, and that is our goal. But I wanted to thank all of you for what an incredible month. That was a great Thanksgiving present from all of you, 21,000 views. But let's get going with today's show. It's my pleasure for you to meet and for me to introduce Miss Meagan Norton, who owns a company called Moments by Meagan. And
Hi,
how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, we didn't exactly plan this for a long time, but we recently met, spoke about what you do, and then when you took me to your website, and I went, wow, this is something our viewers would be so interested in. You are a national, am I saying it right? I'm going to read your bio in a second, but you're a national travel agent, but you do adventurous travel. This is not the 3-day cruise to the Bahamas. Not that there's anything wrong with a 3-day cruise to the Bahamas, as you can see from behind you. So let me read our audience your bio and then get into your story, which I think is staggering. Meagan Norton is a visionary founder of Moments by Meagan, an adventure travel agency that specializes in bespoke, daring, once-in-a-lifetime travel experiences. With over a decade of experience, we're going to discuss that too, Meagan's experience is built on a lifetime of global exploration. She has lived in 7 U.S. states, overseas, in Denmark, and has traveled to over 30 countries. Raised in a military family, I did not know that. Thank your family for that, please. Her passion for discovering new cultures has been ingrained in her since birth. Despite overcoming 13 hip surgeries in her young life, Meagan has never let obstacles stand in the way of her wanderlust. Her resilience and determination inspire her mission to help others achieve their travel dreams, no matter what the challenge they face. Through Moments by Meagan, an incredible website, we're going to be showing it later, she leverages her industry connections, cultural insights to craft unique, transformative itineraries that save clients valuable time and provide unparalleled support. Meagan's dedication to creating an unforgettable vacations makes her a trusted advisor for those seeking to explore the world in style and depth. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for reading a little bit about me. I'm so excited to get to talk to your audience and for them to get to know me.
Well, I've only got to know you a little, and I think your story is incredible. So I'm going to ask the question, and I think the viewers are just going to flip out at your answer. How did you get into this? And it's such a young age, 10 years of experience. But what brought you to, I have a lot of friends that are travel agents. They don't do adventurous travel. They don't do what you and I have discussed or what's on your website. Tell us how you got into that, Meagan.
All right, so it's a bit of a long story, and I'm excited to share. And it starts, really since birth, because I tell my parents they ingrained travel in my blood since my dad was in the Navy, and I primarily grew up in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. I lived there for 6 years, from the ages of 7 to 13, 14. And, those are such formative years. And then we moved to Illinois after that. I had never experienced a winter before, so that was quite the culture shock. I think it was one of the roughest winters in Chicago history, and it was my first one, and I didn't own own a single pair of boots, a winter coat, nothing. But living in Hawaii and getting to experience that culture and having that be such a formative part of my childhood was huge. And I mean, I know so much about the islands and love to plan trips there for myself and my clients. So at 13 years old, 14, when we were moving from Hawaii, this is kind of the inception of my love for actually planning trips. I asked my family if we could go to Disneyland because every, 13, 14-year-old loves Disneyland. So I asked if we could go to Disneyland and stop in California on the way to Illinois. And they said, sure, yes, but we don't have time to plan it. So you plan everything and then get approval from us, create a budget, everything, and then get approval. We'll give you our card and you call and book it. And I was like, okay, sure.
Mickey Mouse, here we
So
come.
yep. So I did everything down to the T. Got us a hotel where there was the regular bus transportation to the amusement parks, figured out all of our tickets, foods, itinerary, flights, everything. And I was the 13-year-old on the phone with all of the hotel receptionists and booking agents doing it all. And we had a great time. It was a blast. It all went very smoothly. And after that, my parents learned that, well, she does a pretty good job at this. So now we're going to have her do everything. So now every time my parents needed a flight anywhere or we did a vacation anywhere, I basically was planning all of it. I also remember I was very lucky that my parents were saying you can have a sweet 16 or we can take you on a trip to New York because they knew I loved Broadway plays. And I felt very blessed to be offered this, but I had this fascination and this love for Egyptian culture since I was in the
Oh,
second grade.
wow.
And I was just obsessed with the ancient world. I had a book that taught you how to write hieroglyphics. So, knowing the little bit I knew at the time, so this was 3 years, 2 or 3 years later, I was from 14 to 16, I decided that I was going to research like how much is a trip to Egypt.
Oh,
So
wow.
I came up with this whole PowerPoint presentation to present to my dad, basically showing him that we could go on a 2-week trip to Egypt for the same price as if we did a 1-week trip to New York City and stayed at a hotel right in Times Square and went to all of these Broadway shows because New York is so
So
expensive.
expensive. Oh, my God.
And so, really, the most expensive thing with Egypt is the flight to get to Cairo. And then, after you get there, then you can have a very luxurious trip for a pretty affordable price. And I'm an only child, so it was three of us, and I had everything laid out. I had all of my answers to every objection my dad would present. And I go into the room and I'm like, okay, so I know you said we could do a Sweet 16 party, which I didn't want because I'm very much an experienced person over materialistic things. And so why would I want a 1 day party when I
Yeah.
could do a whole week-long unforgettable trip? Um, and then I present him, I say, okay, I know we can do that or New York. But hear me out. What if we did Egypt instead? And he kind of thought for a second. And I said, it's about the same price for 2 weeks here. And he had zero objections. He just said, hmm, okay. Yeah. And I was like stopped in my tracks thinking, oh my gosh, I was ready
To
to
have
show
this
you
argument.
yeah, to have this argument. And so he said yes. And I was shocked. And it was my first time ever going international outside of the country. So, a lot of people start with Mexico or Europe. I just went
Right to
full in
Egypt.
on adventurous Egypt. And because I was 16, like my mom helped me with the passport aspect of it, but I was basically planning the whole thing. And I just had this love for planning trips ever since. And I wanted to be a travel agent, or as we say now, travel advisors.
Yes.
I wanted to be a travel advisor, but I honestly thought that the career field wouldn't make me any money or that it was dead because I could book all of this myself. So I thought, well, why would someone hire me to
It's the
plan their
truth.
trip for them? So I believed this lie in my head for quite a few years. And I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur ever since I was in high school. I knew someday I wanted to own my business. I just didn't know what I wanted it to be. So I go through college. I was a communications major, which actually really helped in the career I'm going to talk about in public relations. And then after college, I actually had to move back home with my mom, who was going to be my caretaker while I went through 2 hip replacement surgeries. And that's another aspect of my story that we can get to a little bit later. But I had to get 2 hip replacement surgeries after college. While most people are beginning their careers, moving to new cities for the first time, I was at home, stuck in bed, really couldn't move, just recovering. So during this time, I kept having this itch to be a travel advisor, and I just had no idea how. So I started doing all of this research, and I just decided that I would rather try and fail than to be 40 years old or 50 years old and wonder what if.
Absolutely.
So I did so much research. I found so many different avenues that I could go with it. But I actually even enrolled in a certain course to learn about the business. And I took that course. But I never actually started my website. I never really took that next step after the course. And I was recovered from my surgeries. I really wanted to get out of the house. You know, I was 23. I wanted to move to Charleston, South Carolina. That was one of my dreams. And so I was looking for a full-time job that allowed me to have the income to get an apartment in Charleston, South Carolina. So I found that and kind of put the travel advising to the side. And then that job actually was not for me, a little bit life sucking. And I was like, okay, I don't like this.
A little bit life sucking. I don't know if there can be a little bit life sucking. It's like
A lot of
it's
it.
life sucking or it's not life sucking.
So it was, yes. I think I lasted like less than 2 months at that job. It was just so not me. I'm very much a people person, a talker, and I couldn't stand it. So I left that job and I found a new job at the American Society of Travel Advisors. I literally found this job on LinkedIn and I knew about this company from the course that I had taken a year back that told me all about how to be a travel advisor. And they said, when you become a travel advisor, you want to join the American Society of Travel Advisors. So I noted that down, kept it in the back of my mind. And then when I'm searching for new jobs, all of a sudden I see an opening at this company that I've heard so much about, and I applied and got the job, and I was on their public relations team for over 2 years. I loved it, and it gave me so much exposure to the travel world. It's just so cool how God works things out, because I got to get paid while working and doing something that I loved, getting to use my
Absolutely.
communications background and learning about this industry that I had forever been passionate about. And it literally showed me that the travel advisor industry is alive and well. So I believed this lie that it was dead and that I couldn't make a business out of it. And I was actually getting to serve travel advisors. The American Society of Travel Advisors is the trade association for the travel industry. So just like a chiropractor has their chiropractic association, and there's associations for almost everything out there, we were that association in the US for the travel world. So all of the airlines, cruise lines, hotels were all members with us, and they were what we call suppliers. And then we had travel advisors who are small business owners, and we would put together these events where the suppliers and the travel advisors got to meet and network. And there's lots and lots of other benefits that the American Society of Travel Advisors, otherwise known as ASTA, so I'll call it ASTA from now on, the ASTA would offer its members. And so I got to serve these members, these travel advisors, and learn the ins and outs of their business. And eventually I decided to take the leap and start my own. And yeah, that's
That's
kind
it.
of
That's a
a
good
long
story.
Are you turning 65? Well, if so, the most important decision in your life right now is to determine which Medicare plan you need to be on for your unique changes in life. Are you still working? You on your employer's plan? How about being a snowbird? If so, you need to speak to a Medicare consultant who can help you with your needs. I'm Diane Daniels, and I'm the CEO of Medicare Nation. Go to www.62whoknew.com and click on the Medicare Nation tab. I will give you a free consultation to make sure we find the right plan for your unique needs.
What's the biggest threat to your retirement savings? It's not the stock market. It's the cost of long-term care. Home care, assisted living, or nursing facilities can drain your life savings in just a few years. That's why long-term care insurance isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It protects your assets, preserves your independence, and gives your family peace of mind. Don't leave your future to chance. Visit 62whoknew.com and start planning the retirement you deserve. I've been on a lot of vacations. I love going to Vegas. I love cruises. I love New York, which is where I'm originally from. Nothing beats a Broadway show or certain thing. Certain New York to me is still the capital of the world. But I can't honestly say at 67 years old I've ever been on an adventure. I mean, really and truly. So when somebody calls you, whether they're 67 or 57 or 27, and says, "Okay, I'm calling, Moments by Meagan." What do you find that what do they want? Are they looking for excitement? I mean, when you mentioned Cairo, that's on my bucket list. I don't really want to go to the Mideast right now until things calm down a little. But the pyramids, to me, we won't even get into what I think about the pyramids because we'll lose all our viewers, and you'll click off. But the pyramids and so that to me would be an adventure to walk through the pyramids. How do you help people?
Just a side note, whenever I do plan your trip to Egypt one of these days, I got to do this incredible experience where we flew in a hot air balloon over the Valley of the Kings at sunrise and got to look down over the whole desert and these mountains in the desert and see the etchings that they carved into stone at the Valley of the Kings. And then at the Valley of the Kings, we got to walk in the tombs that are 5,000 years old, which is just so
That's
surreal
amazing.
to think about. And we weren't allowed to take pictures, but inside the tombs there was red, blue, and yellow paint that looked like it had been painted yesterday. And so the Egyptians knew a special formula to use in their paints to keep it potent and
That's
fresh and
amazing.
vibrant. And it was just, you look
Re-
like, you're looking at something done last week. It was
That's
mind
amazing.
blowing.
And did you say red, blue, and yellow?
Yes.
Okay, just as a note, Superman's colors. A coincidence?
Yep.
I don't think so. But it is amazing that those colors look like they're brand new, and we have to repaint our house every 5 years, or the car fades if we get too close to salt water.
Right.
It's information like that staggers me about the pyramids and the history and how they were really built. But I don't want to go into that right now with you. But when you are planning that vacation for me, keep in mind I am deathly afraid of heights. So the hot air balloon.
Okay, we'll skip the hot air balloon.
Unless there's a jet engine connected to it and possibly a bathroom. No, there's not going to be a hot air balloon for me. But you will be planning that. So when somebody calls, though, and says, do you find that people call and they kind of know what they want their adventure to be? I've always wanted to do this, Meagan, but I never have. Help me. Or do they leave it up to you? Like, these are all the places I've been. Yeah, they've been great, but what kind of adventure can you give me? What kind of client, what are they saying when they call you?
So it's really both. It's 50-50. I have some clients that call me up with exactly where they want to go. I recently finished planning a trip for one of my mom's best friends, actually, and it was so fun to plan it for her. She is a breast cancer survivor, and there's a dragon boat racing festival. It's not really competitive, but it's camaraderie between breast cancer survivors, and it happens, I believe, every other year. And this year, or in 2026, it's happening in France, and so she's
Wow.
going there and participating in that. And then her sisters are going to meet up with her and have this once in a lifetime vacation. And they knew they wanted to go to Greece, and then after Greece, they wanted to go to Paris. So I just
Wow.
finished that booking for her. She's going to spend 3 weeks in Europe. It's going to be absolutely incredible. But then I have honeymoon clients, for example, who were not sure if they wanted a tropical destination or if they wanted Europe. So then I walk them through my process, which is to guide them on picking three of their top destinations. And then I will research flights and hotels, which are your two biggest expenses on the trip.
Of course.
I start with researching flights and hotels for three of their top destinations to present that to them, as well as some activities that they can do in the area. And then from there, after they decide which one they prefer the most and which hotel they like the most, then I go through, and these clients, for example, picked Italy. And so then I planned all of the details down to dining reservations at Michelin
Wow.
star restaurants for their trip to Italy. So it's really, both. I love to help my clients brainstorm. And the thing about adventurous travel is a lot of people just don't know what they don't know, right?
That's
So
right.
you don't know that you can do a hot air balloon ride in Egypt, or you don't know that this expedition cruise to Greenland and Iceland exist, or you have no clue that you can do a 50-day luxury safari to Africa. And there's even very high end luxurious companies that offer around the world trips where you get to go on a private jet to 6 or 7 different continents in 30 days. So people just don't know that those
Hmm.
things exist. And that's what I love helping them discover.
Now, you had mentioned also, and it's in your bio, that people with certain handicaps, whether they're in a wheelchair or not, also don't really realize they can have these adventures if it's planned correctly with a professional like you. Can you tell us a little bit? Have you had experience planning that for someone that could be maybe handicapped?
Yes, so um, I myself have had 13 hip surgeries. I was born with bilateral hip dysplasia,
Oh,
and then it wasn't discovered till I was 2. And at that point, your bones are already very solidified. So it took 11 surgeries when I was a child to try to fix it, and that didn't really do the trick. And then 2 hip replacements when I was 22. So I definitely know. What struggles like that feels like and how to travel with them. And so I really want to be there to empathize with my clients. And as some people may or may not know, Europe is not very ADA
I've heard that.
friendly the way that the US is. So, because I've traveled so much in Europe, if I have a client who needs a wheelchair either all the time or partially, then I can really guide them through how to go to these countries, maybe countries to avoid or countries that would be best for them. One example is river cruises. River cruises are pretty accommodating. And a lot of people, the European river cruise market is kind of hidden. It's becoming a little bit more discovered, but the river cruises in Europe, they are pretty accommodating and have elevators and all of that. It's a very good way to see multiple different countries in Europe, even if you have a physical handicap with walking or something like that. And then we would just work with that individual to plan out the excursions that they do and to avoid things that they can't do, like if stairs, for example, if they're in a wheelchair.
Right.
But then also people with celiacs, for example, I have a really good friend that has celiacs, one has Crohn's. So people like that might think that travel is not accessible for them
Yeah.
because they need to eat while they travel, and they need to be very particular about the foods that they eat. And so I'm there to help them go to the right countries that will be very accommodating. Like, for example, Italy versus Scandinavia. So, if you have Crohn's disease and you need to know every item that's in your food, I would recommend that you take a trip to Scandinavia over Italy, because Denmark, Norway, Sweden, they're all very much more accommodating with that
Really?
type of thing than Italy, for example. And you're also going to find a major I should say more people in the Scandinavian region would speak English, and you'd have a better time communicating like, hey, this is actually very serious. It's life or death. I really need you to know that this needs to be cooked separately or whatnot, versus Italy, where lots of people do speak English, but
They
you
don't pay
might,
attention to what you say.
right, or In Italy, there's lots of times where you find those cafes that it's amazing food, but everybody just, speaks Italian.
Yeah,
That's why I'm here to recommend the appropriate countries to go to in circumstances like that.
that's great to know. And I know a lot of viewers will be thinking right now, wow, I didn't know I could travel, but I can. I have a couple people in the family with very serious Crohn's disease, and it hampers, actually all parts of their life, but especially any type of international travel. I'm going to ask a question that we didn't discuss for our viewers that are thinking these adventures are great and probably very expensive. What if I just wanted to use Meagan to take a basic 5, 7, or 10-day cruise to the Bahamas? Do you do that as well? Or did somebody call up I want to go to the Bahamas in April. I really do. I need a vacation. I'm thinking a 5-day cruise. And of course, I'm here in Florida. So if I called you up and said, hey, I want to take a 5-day cruise, to the Bahamas, would you go, too boring, hanging up now, boom?
No, absolutely not. No.
Too boring, Mike, get out. No pyramids in the Bahamas.
I love planning any vacation, and I was recently helping some clients with a spring break cruise as a high school graduation gift for their daughter to the Bahamas, leaving from Florida. I can plan anything.
Okay, I wanted our tens of thousands, soon to be hundreds of thousands of viewers to know that you're here for all their vacation needs. But I can't wait to plan our my first adventure.
Yes, and adventures in the U.S. too. I mean, the U.S.
Alaska is so high on my bucket list, but I want to bring the children. Everybody says I'm crazy. I want the children. I want the grandchildren. I want this to be a family experience.
Oh no, that's not crazy at all. Actually, multi-generational travel is a huge thing now. It's a huge market, and lots of people in their 60s and 70s are wanting those quality experiences with their kids and grandkids. And so booking a 12-person, a 20-person trip, that's definitely something I can do as well.
So I'm definitely not a world traveler. I've been to 20 or 25 states in America, but speaking on the use of home equity in retirement, long-term care insurance, things such as that. So you tend to take an Uber to where you're speaking or the hotel, and then you go the next day and then you come home. So to say I've been in 20 or 25 states is one thing, but there's probably a handful that I spent time in and had a lot of fun in. International, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, things like that. I don't count that as international when you get off the cruise ship and there's an Outback and a McDonald's and a Kentucky Fried Chicken right by you. I may be in another country, but it doesn't feel like an adventure. Although I have a great time. I love cruises. But all of my friends are world travelers. I don't know how I just didn't get to that point. Who have been have walked downtown Shanghai, who have walked in the pyramids, who have been on top of the Eiffel Tower. Every one of them have said to me, nothing beats the experience of cruising down, Glacier Bay, and seeing icebergs bigger than skyscrapers and seeing them crumble or anything. They all say that's so breathtaking compared to us. So, you're going to be planning Alaska for me, I hope, in 2026.
Yeah, I would love to. And one of my favorite quotes that I love to tell my clients, to tell my viewers, is that you'll never regret the money you spent, but you'll always regret the experiences you didn't have. So if there's
I
a
saw
trip,
that on your website. Is that your saying?
yes,
You should, Rob. You need to trademark that or copyright it. If you're listening, that's a great saying. It's a great philosophy for life.
thank you. Yes.
My favorite motivational person, I think, probably the world's favorite motivational person, Anthony Robbins. I've heard him speak so many times. He used to say that the people that get to a certain point of life and say, I should have went to Alaska. I should have went to the pyramids. I should have quit my job and become an entrepreneur like you did. I should have. They get to a certain point where they should have all over themselves. And
so that's not going to be you, right? We're going to get that Alaska book.
No, we're doing Alaska and we're doing the pyramids. But we're doing the cruise in March or April 1st because I need to relax. Building a podcast is not easy. It's a lot of pressure.
Yes, but now with some cruises having Starlink, if you ever do need to work on a podcast from sea, you have that option.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's ask Anthony. You want to come on the cruise?
Yeah, let's do it.
You want to come on the family cruise to
Let's do
Alaska?
it.
Bring your kids.
I'm part of the family, right?
Yeah, you are. You're part of the family. You're part of the reason we had 20,000 views last month. Yeah. All right. You and Rob will come too. We'll just make it a whole thing. We'll make it a 62 Who Knew cruise.
Actually, Rob and I are going on this thing called a Nomad Cruise, and it's a cruise where 300 digital nomads, so people that all work remotely and have their own businesses, are going to be all on one cruise with Starlink and sailing around Asia. So it's happening in February. You're welcome to join.
Yeah.
And it's leaving from Hong Kong, and then it's going to Japan and South Korea and ending up in the Philippines.
Yeah. The closest I'll come to to an Asian cruise will be, I think, Anthony, maybe you and I will go to P.F. Chang's for lunch. That'll be the closest thing I come to an Asian.
It'll be more adventurous.
Yeah,
man.
it'll be beef and broccoli for everyone. I'll be honest with you. Now, what did you say? Digital nomads? Did I just learn a new term?
Yes, so actually, Rob and I, we recently gave up our apartment less than a month ago, and we are officially living the digital nomad life. So my fiance has his own business that he runs remotely, and I can run my travel advising business remotely. We are now exploring the world while building our businesses. And so we are going to be going to Asia for 3 months and then coming back to the US, and we're planning to road trip around the West Coast and get to see all of the beautiful mountains. And Utah has actually been something that's high on my bucket list that I've yet to explore all the national parks.
I'm not putting down Utah, but why is it high on your bucket list?
Well, do you know much about Utah? Because I would love to inform you of its beauty, because
Anthony's shaking.
It's gorgeous. I have been to Utah 2 times, and it's amazing. All the canyons, all the mountains. It's
Really?
absolutely stunning. Absolutely.
That's okay.
there are so many national parks there. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly the number, but there is Bryce Canyon, there's Zion National Park. It's very close to the Grand Canyon, which of course is in Arizona, but it is just absolutely stunning. There is a certain hike called the Wave. Look it up after this call. It's beautiful. It actually looks like a wave in this rock formation. I swear you look like you're on Mars. And hikers actually have to get a special permit to go on this hike. And it, I think, takes months. Like, there's limited amounts of these what I just said, the certification to go, the permit. And it takes quite a while. You're very, very remote. I don't think I'll do it because it is over like 25 miles. I think it's quite an extensive hike. And so for me, while I do my best to not let my hips hold me back from
that's a lot of
exploring
hiking.
the world, I do know, my limitations of not doing 25 miles in one day.
You should put this in my travel folder. Besides being afraid of heights, so there'll be no balloon rides. I'm Jewish. We don't hike. We shop. Hiking for us is when we go to a mall. That's a hike because we're going to buy clothes or something like that. So there'll be no hiking. Put that in my travel folder.
In Alaska, we'll just have you, instead of hiking to the top of a glacier, we'll just have you take a helicopter to the top, and they'll drop you off, and you get to see the
Now we're
view.
back to my height problems, but I shouldn't say I don't hike. Are you familiar with one of my few places I've ever been, because I love Vegas so much, Red River Canyon in Vegas? I did hike there. We didn't mountain climb, but we hiked, and it was cool weather. And I have to admit, it was beautiful. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. And then there's Red River Casino, where the blackjack tables are quite beautiful.
You hike there?
I hiked there. Sometimes I hike from the place where I got sushi back to the blackjack table. I was hiking everywhere. But I have to admit, the mountain thing, and I don't know if you could call it a mountain. I mean, I was going up. What would you call it if it's not a mountain? It wasn't a hill.
It's a slope.
It was a slope. What a slippery slope. It was beautiful. I mean, I got to a certain point, turned around, looked, and as a person that's not that outdoorsy, I went, wow, now I see why people like this. For millions of Americans, the greatest asset they own is their home. Yet most of that equity sits locked away, unused. What if there was a way to unlock your home's value without debt, without interest, and without monthly payments. Introducing Chiefs, converting home equity into financial success. A revolutionary strategy that lets you turn a small piece of your home's equity into cash you can use today to protect your retirement tomorrow. Visit 62whoknew.com to learn how Chiefs can fund long-term care, annuities, life insurance, or lifestyle goals. As we live longer than any generation before us, one question becomes more important than ever. Will your income last as long as you do? On the 62 Who Knew podcast, we dive deep into the strategies that protect your future. And at the center of every strong retirement plan is guaranteed income. Annuities create income you cannot outlive. They provide stability, protection, and peace of mind, no matter what the market does. Visit 62whoknew.com and start planning the rest of your life today. So on a personal, I'm going to ask a bad question, then I'm going to ask a personal question. Using a person like yourself, are you also the person they call when people get to their dream retirement and the key doesn't fit in the door, or the hotel room isn't ready, or whatever, what was supposed to happen is not happening? Because sometimes that's what makes or breaks a vacation. Not things going wrong, because we're human and things go wrong, and there's variables. It's being able to call somebody to help rectify what goes wrong. Does your service, I mean, I can call you from the pyramid and go, I'm freaking trapped in here. You want to send somebody? Yeah. I'm having delusions of red, yellow, and blue.
Well, we got to make it happen so you can go see it for yourself and tell your audience all about it. But yes, absolutely, to answer your question, that is one of the main benefits of hiring a travel advisor, because sure, you could ask ChatGPT, what's the top things to do in Paris, or what's the top things to do in Egypt, and you could try to book it yourself through an online travel agency. But if you do that and then something goes wrong, something's not to your liking,
Chat's
then
not there to help you.
Exactly. And in fact, ChatGPT will oftentimes lead you astray. And like I said, people don't know what they don't know. So if they have no clue, then they're asking ChatGPT and they're like, wow, this sounds great. But they have no idea the actual logistics behind what ChatGPT is telling them. So I'll give you an example. Rob and I were going out to Oregon because I had a friend getting married there, and I lived there for a year, so I wanted to give him the Oregon extravaganza, and we had very limited time, so I called it the 72-hour extravaganza in Oregon. And I thought, why not, as a travel advisor, I just want to test ChatGPT. So I told ChatGPT the limited amount of time we had and where we had to be for certain activities around the wedding. And I told it the area we wanted to go, and then I asked it to map out an itinerary. ChatGPT gave me a logistic nightmare, and it was wasting a lot of our precious time that we had in these 72 hours because it wasn't giving me a logical itinerary that made sense. So I had to do the hard work to route the trip and to make it all make sense. So if you don't know Oregon, if you haven't been there,
you're going to listen to chat and go, that's the greatest thing in the world. Let's go.
Exactly. So that's why a travel advisor, we've probably been to the country that you want to go to. And even if we haven't, we know suppliers, we have friends in the industry that have been there, and we can reach out to suppliers that live there, that do tours there all the time. We have those industry connections. So you're hiring us so that we can plan out your itinerary and have it be logistically, perfect, as close to perfect as possible, so that you don't get there and you're frustrated and you're thinking, wow, this makes no sense. Why did ChatGPT recommend this?
All right. Here's one final question. It could be a bad question. If somebody calls, goes to RoyalCaribbean.com and plans a 5 or 7 day cruise for them and their family, spends X, but then calls you and you plan the same exact cruise, maybe better or whatever, is there a price difference? Are people paying more to use you?
So what a lot of people don't realize is that there is not really a price difference, like with Royal Caribbean.
Yeah.
If you go and book it online, like this is exactly what I was encountering with the client I was looking into a spring break cruise for them. If they booked it through me, it was the exact same price as if they booked it online. But if they book it online and they need any help, assistance at
That's
all,
right.
then they're on their own.
Well, as we wind down, this has been such a good show, and I'm looking forward to my adventures. I know you're planning on doing things for people that are not quite the elite, that are not planning the trip to the Orient or to the pyramids as you're going to take me. That person that's taking the 3 or 5 day cruise with their family, that you're creating things through your website, through social media to help those people as well. Tell us a little about that.
Yes, so lots of big plans on the horizon for Moments by Meagan. And one of them being that on my social media, which you can follow me on Instagram at Meagans_moments. My name is spelled Meagan. Meagan's Moments. I plan to be putting out a lot of completely free advice for travelers of any budget to
Oh,
plan
wow.
their own vacation. And I also plan on putting out guides on experiences that I've had, different road trips that you can do in the US, how to book all sorts of different travel. So I plan on putting out a guide about our 72-hour Oregon extravaganza. You can purchase that for just $20 and then book your whole Oregon extravaganza yourself. So I really want to serve all consumers.
Good.
I want to serve the budget traveler and the high-end luxury traveler that would like to personally book their experience with me. And a tidbit that I wanted to throw out there for any adventurous travel advisors, truly of any age, there's this great website called World Packers. I don't make any commission or anything off of this.
World Packers.
World Packers. If you are wanting to travel the world and you think that it is so expensive and it's out of reach for you, I promise you it's not, because you can go to World Packers. It's a site that you can volunteer any skill that you may have at different resorts, different locations around the world. So what you do is you sign up for a membership. You pay between like $80 and $150 for an annual membership. It's really affordable. And you get to apply to vetted opportunities that hotels, conservation areas, resorts, all sorts of places have gone to this website, posted what they're looking for, and you can volunteer at those resorts. So for example, this upcoming January, Rob and I are going to be volunteering at a 5-star resort, beachfront resort in Sri Lanka. And our accommodation, a private room, and 3 meals a day is provided. And we are volunteering 25 hours of our time per week to do videography and social media work for this resort. And we're going to volunteer there for 2 weeks. So
That's
all
incredible.
of the different, right? Yeah. And a lot of people don't know about it. And I just want to tell everybody about it and say, you can do this too, because all of these places will say, we need a volunteer, and you can do with couples or solo. We need a volunteer for X amount of hours a week. This is what we need you to do, whether it's housekeeping, cooking, teaching kids English in a foreign country, videography, photography, anything. It's out there, and you can go through all the filters for it. And they say what they need you for and what they plan on offering you, and you send an application, and then they'll accept you or not accept you, and then you can talk to
And
them.
your only expense is getting there, really.
Exactly.
Well, that is incredible. I know I'm going to go to the site when I get home, and I bet you a bunch of our viewers will. I'm going to tell my children about it as well. But I want to thank you for being here. This has been great. We're going to be able to put up Meagan's website, right?
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
time, yeah.
It'll be up on the screen.
So thank you so much. I know that I'm hoping to have you back. I'm hoping to have you as a permanent part of the 62 Who Knew family. It'd be great if we could protect people's retirement and prepare them for longer lifespans and give them adventures at the same time. That's something I didn't think we could do. That would be great.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you again. And remember, to all our people, to all our viewers, thank you again for growing the show so much. Remember to go to www.62whoknew.com for all your retirement needs. Take full advantage of the website, please. And as the holidays approach, it's just a great time of year for all of us. We'll see you all next week.